in Tucson, Arizona, which is located in the Sonoran Desert, where the average rainfall is less than 12 inches per year. In Arizona, groundwater is a valuable resource. What happened during the 1950s to 1980s almost put an end to the desert's clean drinking water. This PSA is about pollution in Tucson's water. My hometown, my family's hometown.
In 1952, Hughes Aircraft disposed of trichloroethylene, or TCE, here at this site, also known as Raytheon Missiles and Defense. TCE is a chemical used for cleaning dirty and greasy metal parts.
Ew.
TCE was disposed by the government-owned missile factory for almost 30 years into empty pits or directly into the groundwater. Sources of exposure were in the neighborhoods like the one behind me. It was contaminated water was ingested from certain wells, accidental ingestion from shower, swimming pools, or neighborhood washes. Even though the Federal Water Pollution Act happened in 1948, there weren't any agencies to enforce regulations until 1970 when EPA was established. TCE contaminated an area half-mile wide and 5 miles long. There's a free screening program for lymphoma, leukemia, and multiple myeloma for people in those affected areas. Finally, in 1981, the contaminated wells were closed by the Pima County Health Department.
The U.S. Environmental Protection Agency, also known as the EPA, has many roles and responsibilities. First, it works with federal, state, and tribal with monitoring programs. It regulates communities to follow environmental laws and regulations, sets the standards and regulations for water pollution, implements pollution control programs, and sets limits on contaminants. The EPA also enforces different laws and regulations to ensure public drinking water is protected, public water systems are following federal standards, preventing contaminated underground water drinking sources, and enforcing requirements under the Clean Water Act and the Safe Drinking Water Act. The Safe Drinking Water Act was established in 1974, and under the SDWA, the EPA sets standards and regulations. Some of these standards include drinking water quality, monitoring state and local authorities, setting maximum contaminant levels, setting treatment requirements for over 90 contaminants. It also gives the states opportunities to set and enforce their own drinking standards. The EPA also enforces regulations under the Safe Drinking Water Act. A couple of them are national primary drinking water regulations, which includes the treatments of the public water system must follow. National secondary drinking water regulation, which goes on taste, smell, and color of the water, and also unregulated contaminants. The Clean Water Act of 1972 was formerly known as the Federal Water Pollution Control Act of 1948. It is a primary law governing water pollution, but it does not specifically address contamination of groundwater resources. The EPA implements pollution control groups under the CWA. The programs that are under the CWA that the EPA enforces are Clean Water Act monitoring, National Pretreatment Program, Stormwater Pollution Prevention Plan, National Pollutant Discharge Elimination System, and Wastewater Management. When laws and regulations of water polluting are not being followed, criminal enforcement gets involved. There are 4 known violations: negligent, knowing endangerment, and false statements. The fines can range from anywhere from $25,000 a day to $250,000 fine, 1 year to 15 years in prison. The best way to stop water pollution is prevention. You can do that by reporting water violations at epa.gov/tips, by placing water filters in your home and office, drinking filtered or bottled water. Compliance is the key to public health protection. How does this all relate together? The Tucson water pollution goes back to the fact that there was no regulation in place to prevent it. TCE was dumped into the water tables for 30 years. As a result, 17,000 pounds of TCE was removed and 13.4 billion gallons of water had to be cleaned. More than 1,600 residents were affected, and $130 million were paid out from lawsuits. So the takeaway is this: remember, what goes on the ground goes into the water.
Give a hoot! Don't pollute!
Save clean water for me and generations to come. Thanks for watching.